Many people cannot retire early, and they really, really want to. George and I knelt down and prayed. We prayed together for my future. Good morning, Elmo. Hey, little bit. Seeing double. To go get a bath today. No, it's just Maddie. You gonna go get a grooming? Dexter, you have to stay. You go next time. Hey guys, welcome to the vlog this week. Less hustle, more coffee. My name is Sonia. I'm married to George and we have two dogs, Dexter and Maddie, and I welcome you into our home this week. And if you've been watching for a while, then welcome back. One of the things that I wanted to talk about this week was what would I have done if I couldn't have retired early at 62. I have a little story to tell you, I guess, just kind of looking back in time. There was a time when I actually thought that I would be working till probably 70, or I didn't know if I'd ever get to retire, honestly. As it ended up, I'm sitting here. I did retire at 62, or right before I turned 62. Let's just go back in time for a little bit. When I worked in HR as an HR manager for several plant facilities across the country, it was a little more than stressful. I loved the job, but it was very stressful. And I would say probably 2018, something like that, I just really was burned out. Most of you know what I'm talking about. I mean, I was just burned out by life. Just burned out. When you're in a job for so long, things begin to snowball and it gets bigger and bigger. Your responsibilities are they just grow. You know more and you can do more because you know more. You're there, you're involved, and most of the time you would go in on the job and it would be, you'd have your day planned, but probably 60 to 70% of the day, maybe even more, of whatever you planned would just not happen. You would be doing something else. So, I mean, you'd have to go in a little earlier and stay a little later, and before you know it, the day's gone. And you give it up and you go in the next day and try again. There was just a point at which we had someone leave our payroll position, and it just occurred to me, Sonia, you have always loved doing payroll. Every week would be the same. You wouldn't have this continuing outreach in so many facets. So long story short, because I could talk the whole video about that, but when our payroll person left, I applied for that position, and it was a risky move. My company could have said, no, we're not going to move you there. And now that we know you're not happy in HR, we're not going to let you stay there either. And I was really afraid. They kind of made me wait for a week. It took a toll on me because I didn't know if I had screwed up or not. I'll never forget that week. George and I knelt down and prayed. We prayed together for my future. I'm just so grateful that we did that because the Lord has promised that He would set paths before us. And gosh, He did. It wasn't always easy, but He knew a lot of the things that I was going through and a lot of the things that that I was going to go through. And so he created paths for me. And then I was able to retire early. But those last days of work, he allowed me to be in I don't know if it was an easier job. I guess it was. But the schedule was certainly easier. And that I am thankful for. Just grateful for. Within a year or two of me being in that payroll job, COVID hit and a lot of things changed. A lot. That was just the beginning of change, not only for me, but probably for you too. Mom ended up moving. She needed help. She moved in with us while her house was being built, so we moved her twice. There was just a lot involved with that because her house was being built. She couldn't drive. We took her to all the house building appointments. We took her to all her doctor's appointments. And life was pretty overwhelming back then. So let's just get back to the topic at hand. I just wanted to give you a backdrop of my story. And, back in those days, I didn't know that I was going to be able to retire. I hadn't even dreamed it up, and things just happened that eventually led to my being able to retire. Many people cannot retire early, and they really, really want to. And so I thought we would talk about this week, what would I have done if I couldn't have retired early? Now, I did go ahead and make some big, risky life changes to make my life better at that time when I thought that I wasn't going to ever be able to retire or might be 70. I just thought we're always going to have to work because of the insurance. But a lot of things in life happened that changed all that for George and I, and just meeting with the people that we met with, financial advisors, and just the way that life happened. And we did the number crunching, and it turned out that we both could retire. I'm sharing my story with you, but what I want to talk about across the week is just what would I have done differently if I was not able to retire early and still had to work until 67, or because for me, full retirement would be 67. When I posted that I was retiring, a lot of you told me how desperately you wanted to retire and you were afraid to or didn't think you could afford to. And so this video is for you guys. It's like I just felt called to do this video and just give you some hope. And I just dug deep inside to ask myself, what would you do if you couldn't retire? So I do have a list of things that I want to share with you throughout the vlog. This is a vlog, so we'll take you throughout the week. I know a lot of you really like the vlog parts of the videos. Some of you really like the chatty parts, and I try to do a little bit of both. Let's get on with our week. As we go through the week, we'll talk about a lot of these things. I hope this video helps you, and so you'll have to let me know if you made it through all the points. I do want to say that as I go through the week, I realize that all of us are different. We all have different situations. We have different monetary situations. We've had different jobs, life circumstances. So for everyone, it's going to be a little bit different, or maybe a lot different. I'm interested to hear not only feedback from you on this video, but also what would you do? What are some other ideas that you can throw in there for our community in the comments to help people out, for those that can't retire right now early, but have to wait until full retirement, if then. All right, well, let's get on with the week. Hey guys, it is Tuesday. It's almost 6 p.m. The day is about to be gone from me. It has just been a busy day. We had our eye appointments today, and we went to a couple of shops, and then we went to eat at Santorini's table. So all of that took quite a bit longer than I meant for it to. Since I've been home, I have been attempting to do laundry and also doing some editing on the Mac. And the laundry's easy. The Mac is another story because it's not really wanting to work for me too well right now. The frustration level every time I use it is upwards between 60 and 80%. Occasionally, I'm able to use it with no problem at all. Those times are fewer and farther between. So I think I only had like less than a minute of editing to do, and I had to reboot, and it took forever to come back up. So this is getting to be kind of desperate with the Mac. It really alters my mood in a huge way. Wasn't even sure that I can do this vlog entry right now. I'm still not even sure I can do this vlog entry right now, but we're going to try. I usually do this earlier in the morning. This week we have been talking about what would I have done if I couldn't have retired early. In today's points, I wanted to talk about making your work life more livable if you are wanting to retire and you can't retire yet. That is one of the best ways that you can keep yourself sustained through this period and keep yourself happier. I just know for me how hard it would have been if I had not been able to retire at the time that I did. And there was a time, as I mentioned yesterday, that I really didn't think I was going to get to retire. So it did work out, but even before I retired, I already knew that I would not be able to maintain the job that I had at the time as HR manager. I did have to make the job to payroll, as I mentioned yesterday. It was a simpler schedule. I don't know entirely that it was a more simple job because the processes were sometimes very particular, and if you messed anything up, you messed it up big time. So I can't say it was an easier job, but I will say the schedule for the job was much easier. So that is one thing that you can do is you can, and it's a big change, you can change positions, whether it's in your company or outside your company. And I realize that those are easy words to roll off of my mouth, but I do know that it can be done because I did it, and it wasn't just me that did it. I had the help of God behind me because I had prayed about it in advance, and He set the path straight for me. So I think there's a little bit of faith involved there, but I do know that employment changes can be made. I do know that they are hard and that it is change, and change is hard. The change might actually be easier than keeping in the same job, if you know what I mean. So it's certainly something to consider, and I know that is different for everyone, and I know it's a risk because you don't know always if you're going to like the new job. I remember being really worried about that. I wasn't sure I could learn the new job. That's a big factor when you get older. But there are some opportunities that people can work from their home now, and it may be scary to look into those things or even think about those things, but you can go ahead and set a vision board for yourself of what you want that to look like, and then make steps toward it. Just, take a gander online and see what's out there. Go ahead and put your resume together. Have everything in order. You never know. Your current job might end tomorrow anyway. You just never know. So, the last week that I retired, my company was bought out. The last week that I worked for somebody else. So, we don't have any guarantees. And if anybody tells you that you do not have a choice at making your own game plan, then you need to question them, because you actually do. And it is hard. And I realize that you can do it. You can find a job that you really enjoy, and that's going to make your life so much better if you have to continue working. You can also minimize your workload and your work hours. I just remember there was at some point that I said, I'm not going to be coming in really early, and I'm no longer going to be staying really late. Give or take 5 to 15 minutes, but no, in the past I would say, okay, I'm going to have to work 2 hours over this day to get this project done. And it's like, no, When you're younger, there's times that you have to do that, And as I got older and I realized, these people are not going to be with me toward the end of my life. They are really not. They're not going to be taking care of me. Me and my family are going to be taking care of me after I retire, and I do need to do my job. I'm not saying don't do your job, but if you can't get a project done within normal working hours, that to me would be time to go to my boss, and I've done this before, and I've said, I've got this amount of time this week, and this is what's on my plate. Which ones do you want me to focus on? Because obviously I'm not going to be able to work on all of them. And I've had to say that before. Also, consider working closer to home. If you are looking for another job, I think that makes a lot of difference in your commute time. And of course, if you don't want to do that, just try to do the best you can with your commute time. Make adjustments to your schedule. Talk with your boss and say, hey, the traffic is really bad during this time. I'd really like to adjust my hours. Let's talk about what we can do. Can I leave, at 2 and work the rest of the day at home? Or, I don't know. It's going to be different for everybody. You have to look out for yourself, and you have to list ways and changes that you can make that would make your life worth living work-wise. If you have to keep on working until you're 65 or 67 or longer. The other thing that you can do is set boundaries. So I began to set boundaries, and like I said, one of them was with my time, and I just quit working all ends of the day. I tried to get everything done in 8 to 8.5 hours during the day. I already had pretty much an hour-long commute, and each way, 45 minutes at least, and then there's traffic. And so you're already looking at a 10-hour day, and I still had things that I needed to do at home. And so, and errands in between, and things like that. So as you get older, working long hours just really takes a toll on you, and you have to start setting some boundaries, and no one is going to do it for you. You have to let people know. We're always talking about telling people how you want to be treated, how you need to be treated, and same way with your work hours and your work conditions. It's here is what I really need from you all right now. Here is what I feel like I can do. You're not telling them, I'm getting older, I can't do this anymore. There were just things like I refused to work the later hours. I refused to drive in the snow. I used to worry about driving in the snow a lot. Okay, guys, I know. I can hear you northerners out there making fun of us, and that's okay. We're used to it. But let me tell you, a Tennessee snowstorm will shut Nashville down at a half inch. You don't believe me? Come down here and sit through it, and you'll find out. We slip and slide all over the place. Our snow is different, and they don't take care of the roads like they do up there. So, you know what I'm talking about, Southerners, right? And I would have George take me in, and we would get out in it and all of that. And it's like, at some point, I'm like, look, I'll come in on a different day and do payroll. If we know the storm is coming on Tuesday, the day that I do payroll, let me come in on Sunday and start the process. And then you betcha I would take my off day on Friday or some other day in the week, because I was not going to work the 6 days. There's just things that you can do. Like I also, they wanted me to, because I had some HR experience, they wanted me to work in HR at one point. And, if I was getting my job done and I had some extra time, I didn't mind helping out. But the way that it normally worked is when you did help out, then it was yours from then on. It didn't go away. And that's unfortunate. It's just really unfortunate. But after working for 50 years, you begin to see those things happen, and the only one that's going to protect you is you. And it may sound harsh. It may sound harsh and ugly and rude, and I wasn't trying to be that way at all. I just wanted to go home when it was time for me to go home. I didn't want to stay late to do somebody else's job. Does that make sense? There were times when I told my boss, look, I got to leave at 5 today, but here is what is on my plate. So I know you wanted me to enter these benefit deductions for HR, but I am not finished with my payroll processes and paying taxes for our company. Which one do you feel is important for me to work on today? Ta-da! They're going to give you the answer. It's kind of rude of them to want you to stay late to do somebody else's job. So that's just my opinion. Don't volunteer for everything. It is nice to help, and you should help other people. But at the same time, if your company is going to be one of those companies that if you do it to help somebody, it's yours forever, you might want to rethink that. That's all I'm saying. Reduce stress in every area, not just at work. I'll give a good example. When Mom moved up here, and we're trying to get her doctor's appointments, get her groceries, because she's not driving. We're trying to take her to get her hair cut and to get nails done and to go to Lowe's. And there was just, there's just a lot of stuff that we did during that time. She forgot to buy bacon one week and had to go to the store twice. She lives in the next town over. And I remember having to take the bacon in a cooler, keeping it at work all day, and then going to Lebanon, and then coming back home to Mount Juliet. And after that day, I thought, no more. I had to set a boundary of, Mom, you're going to have to get your grocery list in order and take it serious, because you got one shot for the week. I'm not going to run these little onesie-twosie errands all week long. I also had to set a boundary of keeping Saturday as my day, because I worked all week. We were gone all day Sunday. We would take Mom to church, out to eat, and run any errands that she needed to do at Lowe's, get her groceries. That was her day. And there were plenty of other days that I took off from work to take her to doctor's appointments and all that. But Saturday, I had to have a day to do our laundry, to get our groceries, and to do stuff that I needed to do. And so I had to set a boundary in just about every area of my life. And it was boundaries with my mother. It's like, I'm going to care for your needs. I cannot be your social director. I'm only going to do one grocery run per week, and I'm not going to give you both my Saturday and Sunday. We did do lots of things after work, though. We would get our nails done, her hair cut, so we were out numerous times during the week, but Saturday, you betcha, was mine. So there's boundaries that has to be set, but not only with work, but, at home and with family, even with church events. It's like I would not allow myself to do certain things. So I had limits. Take your breaks. And something that I ended up having to do, because I valued and needed my PTO days for me personally, and that was to set my doctor's appointments during work hours. And sometimes I did make that up. I made sure that I got in my 40 to 45 hours. That was my limit. I never went over 45. After a certain point, I would always at least work my 40. My boss can attest to the fact that I would be really careful with my hours and tally them up to make sure, because I didn't want the company to be shorted in any way, and I wanted to do what I was paid to do. And so if I was gone, 2 hours to a doctor's appointment on a Wednesday, then I took shorter lunches or came in 15 minutes earlier, stayed 15 minutes late. And it really helped me, because I could take my PTO days on days that were just for me, and I didn't have to waste them on doctor's appointments. So that was kind of a really happy medium there. And, that's pretty much what other people did too. If I took a PTO day for every doctor's appointment that Mom had and I had, I wouldn't have any vacations at all, and so there's that. That's pretty much all the points that I need to say for today. We had a good day today. It just took a little bit longer than I expected. It looks like my Mac is finally back from the reboot. I don't know whether it took a long vacation, went to Tahiti or Timbuktu. I have no idea, but it's back and up and running now. So I'm going to try to get this last minute or so of editing done. And we will see you guys tomorrow, which is Wednesday, and I don't have anywhere to go. Hey guys, it's Wednesday today. Haven't really had any interesting footage to give you guys today. I really have been trying to take a break today. It is our only day at home this week, except for Saturday. Saturday has its own list of things going on here, but I've gotten a lot done today. I've worked in the house. I've been fighting with the Mac, and I told George, I said, look, I am trying to make it through the rest of this year. I don't know if I'm going to make it, because it is literally a fight every time I get on the thing. Today, it wouldn't let me on the internet. Couldn't even do that. I have run a security check. I don't know what's going on. It's just old. It's just old, and it's not supporting all the latest things anymore. It's done. It's tired, just like me today. I have some coffee to try and perk myself up. I'm feeling that 3 o'clock low, so I am not dressed very well today. This is my we're hanging at home attire. Let's just jump right in. I've got my little list here, but today we're talking about things that I would have done if I could not have retired at 62. In thinking through and pondering what would I do, obviously, probably the biggest point is the financial aspect of retiring at 62 versus 65 or 67 or whatever it is for you. I would pull my Social Security report. I think I would see what it is at 62 versus 67, or the difference between early retirement and full retirement. I would know my numbers. The reason that George and I are retired right now is because we looked at our numbers. We really didn't think we would be able to, but we looked at our numbers and we were able to. There's a lot that plays into that, and I'm not going to go into our financial background and all of that, because everybody's situation is different and it's just not going to apply to everybody. But we looked at the numbers. We actually hired a financial advisor. We had the tools to do that, and we needed to do that, so we did that. And that was an eye-opener for us. We were actually looking at the numbers and thinking, oh my gosh, we can do this. That was probably 5 to 7, 8 years ago, something like that. If I weren't able to retire at 62, I would want to have looked at those numbers to see what my Social Security Administration payment would be. So my battery died, and usually I check it before I started, but when I closed it up yesterday, it had plenty on it, so I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, we're back. So if you saw a blip, that's what happened. Yes, like I'm saying, know your numbers. You can also look at everything in your budget. First of all, if you're not on a budget, you probably would want to get on one, and you might even look at, what would the budget look like? Do a practice budget if you were retired, and kind of figure out where the gap is. That's what I would do. Now, George is our financial guru. I didn't have to do any of this, so when I'm telling you these things, this is truly what I would do, and this is what he did. He crunched numbers, and so look at your budget now, and if you're not on one, get on one, and then do a budget for what it would be like in retirement on that income. And then you need to look at everything you do under a microscope and see if you can tweak it. Because if you can tweak some things, you might just find that you can live on the new budget. A big factor is going to be insurance costs and gas, and how would your expenses change if you're working. I had an hour commute, so I don't have to buy all this gas that I used to buy. I don't have to buy work clothes. I don't have to keep that up. But I did have to buy retirement clothes. But you can get retirement clothes at a discount. So, I don't know. There's just lots of things to look at. And if I couldn't retire early, I think I would, if you thought you couldn't afford it yet, I think I would start looking at those things. And this is probably something most of you have done anyway. I just made a list of all the different things that I would do if I couldn't retire. And of course, you can't overlook the financial piece of that. That's the main part. I would start trying to pay off debt. I think we started doing that early on, and oh my goodness, we went through Dave Ramsey. If you are not familiar with Dave Ramsey, look him up. There's Dave Ramsey books. There's no doubt Dave Ramsey type videos. and Dave Ramsey classes. So, I mean, do your homework on that. Really did like his concepts. You know, we paid off all the little things first so that we could pay off the bigger things. And you figure out a budget and you figure out where all of your money is going to go for the month. I would highly recommend that if you are having any issues with debt. I would seriously look at that because it is profound. It really is. And it helped us. And we became almost debt-free. We didn't pay off our house. We've pretty much been debt-free with the exception that we do allow our Amazon card because we get the points and we have a system. Let me just tell you, we have a system that works for us. As far as technical things that he didn't really like to dive into. So things like we were still using cable when everybody else was switching to streaming, you know, and it was so much cheaper. I think we saved maybe $80 a month or something like that, maybe even more, just switching. There's just different things that you can look at to see if maybe we can make a change here. And sometimes it's bigger. Sometimes you need to change your internet provider or your streaming service, or take a look at all these subscriptions that you have to pay for on an ongoing basis. Maybe you can do something a little different. So you definitely need to be keeping an eye on those things. So one thing that helped me when I knew that I was going to be retiring at 62, I probably knew for sure that I was going to be able to do that around age 60 because we had talked about it. And from the moment I knew, I just couldn't stand life until I got to retirement. I was so excited about it. So it's all I talked about for 2 years. Really and truly it is. I'm sure people got tired of hearing about it. And if you've seen my videos, you know. I really started my transition period then. Once I knew, you know, that I was going to retire at 62. But even if you know you're going to retire at 65 or 67, I will say there may be some days when it seems like it's not going to come around fast, but it will. 62 came around in a heartbeat for me, and I was so glad that I had thought about some of these things and that I really started my transition period then. I started picturing myself retired. I started looking at things that I might change financially, and I started making those changes. And so that is something that you can do. Just remember, insurance is a big factor, and I have a feeling that a lot of people are not retiring because of that. So I'm not eligible for the Medicare thing until 65, the medical insurance part. So you got to do something between 62 and 65, and it is not cheap. You know, you got to look at that and see how much that's going to be, because that's a big chunk of change. So you don't want to have that bill coming in and not be prepared for it. So just know that's going to be a chunk of change, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons why people don't retire early. There's also the quality of life thing. You need to look at that. You need to think about that. It's a gamble, really, between, you know, deciding when to retire, and I think that it's just a really hard thing for everybody to consider. So one thing you need to know, here's my disclaimer. I am not an expert. I'm not a financial expert by any means. The thought of it makes me laugh, and I think it is pretty good advice. It's probably some advice that you would hear from most anyone if you talked with them, so there's probably nothing earth-shatteringly different than what you'll hear from anyone else. But I just felt compelled to do this video, and we're not through with it yet. I still have some points for tomorrow and Friday, and I am very interested in hearing your situation, and if you're wanting to retire, or maybe you are retired, and what you think the biggest hurdle is going to be. And if you have any advice also that I'm not giving on here, please let us know for the community, because this is a big subject and it's one of big concern for a lot of people. So tomorrow we're actually going to Hendersonville. We're going to have dinner in a little place in Gallatin and probably go thrifting. So I should have some footage tomorrow, but I will have to get my little point in earlier in the day because all of that's happening later in the day. So that said, I'll see you in the morning. Hey guys, welcome to Thursday. Guess what? We're going out today and gonna have a little bit of fun. We're actually going to Hendersonville, Tennessee. That's where our financial advisor is. We go to see him about once every 6 months. Just talk about those investments and how things are going, how the market trends are going. We talk about our needs, future things we're gonna need. So it's just really nice having somebody to be able to talk to that knows about those things and all of that. So we're going to do that, and we're also going to go to a thrift shop or two. We'll see what we have time for. We have a little brewery that we have enjoyed going to in the past, and we haven't been there in several years. So we thought we would pop in there and get a pre-dinner drink. Then we have a special place that we've wanted to go in Gallatin, nearby Hendersonville. It's about 40 minutes away from us here in Mount Juliet. But we've been wanting to go to this restaurant for a while, and it just hasn't been open. So it's open now. So I'm going to take you along for most of this day. I know that this vlog has been more of a chatty vlog. It's been a subject-related vlog, but today we're going to go out and have some fun. We really haven't done anything overly interesting that I thought you guys would be interested in. Tomorrow we have something interesting, and that is that Sprouts is opening. So we're going to get up early and do that in the morning, and I will take you along for that. I hope it goes well. This vlog is about what on earth would I do or have done if I couldn't have retired at 62, if I was going to have to wait until 65 or 67. Today we are going to talk about today's point, which is trying to create that fulfillment in your life during that period until you can retire. It's almost like a pre-retirement retirement. We talked yesterday some about time and setting some boundaries and just kind of getting some of your time back. And that's kind of a prerequisite for this point today. So you get a little bit of extra time back in your schedule, slowing things down a bit so that you can pick up an old hobby or maybe start a new one. Maybe you want to go take a knitting class or an art class, or, everybody has their own interests, but I don't know, maybe there's something that has sparked your interest through the years and you'd like to try your hand at it or check into it or see if it is something that you might like. You may not want to do any of that. You may really enjoy being around people, so maybe it's some type of group that you want to join. It's just going to be a little bit different for everybody. What I would suggest also is just talking to actual people that have retired and see what they're doing. I mean, not only can you see what hobbies they've picked back up or started anew, or, just find out what they are doing with their time. They can also give you, this is a sidebar, they can also give you many tips that you're going to need about retirement. Social Security and Medicare and the timing of everything and financial information and insurance information. So start talking to all the people that you know that are retired and people that have actually gone through that process. They know. Sometimes you can talk to people who are about to retire and they know a lot too. Just talk about it. It's fun to talk about. I know. We talked about it. So just, continue practicing to slow down. But maybe you live where you can go for a walk periodically outside. There's just lots of things that you can do. Maybe it's time to start reading more, or, you just pick your favorite thing that you think you would like to enjoy and just start doing more of that. All the things that you think you might plan to do in retirement, start doing a lot of those now. It's all about trying to schedule some peace and having a little more downtime, because we are older at 62 and you're still very good at what you do, and you are enjoying being around people. And if you enjoy your job and you can take a little more downtime and put that in your schedule and do things that you enjoy, it's going to make that time go by a lot faster until you can retire. It's not really about surviving till retirement, but about living right now until you can retire. So that's my advice for today. And now we're going to head out and get started on our day here in about an hour. I've gotten my thumbnail done this morning. I did World Bible School. I did a Devo. And I'm reading this book for my Devo by Beth Moore from Audacious. That's the name of the book. Kind of got off to a slow start. But today, when she was talking about how her friends celebrated and gave her a surprise birthday party that was a funeral, it cracked me up. They took her in. She thought she was getting a surprise birthday party. It was a surprise. She walked in the door. Nobody yelled surprised. Everybody was dressed in black. Her friend that had picked her up sat her down in a chair and immediately began ignoring her. Everyone was crying dramatically. They were, groaning and moaning, and they proceeded to do the funeral with her sitting there and everybody ignoring her because, she wasn't alive anymore. And they just kind of roasted her, so to speak, about all the things that she did, all of her most embarrassing moments and, all these things. So it was really funny to read that chapter. I wasn't really going to recommend the book until I read today's chapter. It's supposed to be about being audacious and following Jesus, and I think I totally missed the point today. I think it's worth a read just to read that chapter. And that is all I will say for now. I need to get off of here and get on with the day, so we'll see you here in a few minutes. Alright, so we've been trying to come here for a year, and like we've got this whole room to ourselves. I'm so excited. I ordered beef bourguignon. George ordered a dish I can't pronounce. We have a wedge salad coming that we're gonna split. We're seated in the gallery room. I told George, I said, happy anniversary. It's not our anniversary, but it feels like it should be. I'm so excited to be here. All right, so we're splitting a wedge salad. She brought us some tongs. We're in line.
I haven't had coffee.
I did. I had one cup. We are back now from Sprouts grand opening. That was a lot of fun. It is an organic store, so a lot of their prices are a little above what you'd see in other stores, but they did have a lot in there, and we did buy some things. We bought a lamb roast for one. We did get 20% off of everything. We downloaded their app. So we're going to have lamb tonight, so that'll be fun. I did want to go ahead and close the vlog out, but I did have a few points that I wanted to mention in closing, and I do have them written in front of me. You know, if I couldn't retire at 62, what would I do? And I just kept thinking about it's a mindset. You know, I would just have to change my mindset. Create a vision board, which I believe is what I did until my retirement. I really kind of had a vision set in my head for what it was going to be like and what I was going to do. And for those 2 years, I moved toward the mark, you know. So I would suggest doing a vision board and just, you know, whatever you envision, that is what you naturally migrate toward. The other thing is prayer and scripture, because prayer, you know, just telling God what you need, what you want. You know, we're His children, those of us who believe and have followed His commands. We're His children, and He cares about us, and pouring out our heart to Him and letting Him know our desires. And we will naturally move in the direction that He wants us to, and He does delight us in our goals a lot of the time. Also, just simplifying life. We've talked about this some already. Shifting your perspective and just kind of enjoying life now, as opposed to having to wait to retirement to enjoy it, and just finding ways to slow down. We talked a lot about that already. Focusing on health and staying active and making work feel less like work. We've talked about all these points. This is just kind of a review. The main thing is just to create a life that's peaceful and enjoyable during that time between 62 and when you do actually retire. I don't know if any of those points helped you out, though those are probably points that most any of us would make in helping one another to get through that period. Like I said, I just sat down and wrote some notes, as to how would I deal with this if I had to work 5 more years or 3 more years or whatever it was. So those are my thoughts, and I'm going to go ahead and close out the vlog. I know it's been a chatty vlog, the last few vlogs, but a lot of you really like those chatty vlogs. So there it is. Anyway, I appreciate you guys for watching the vlog. If you made it to the end, let me know. Go ahead and give me a like, and don't forget to leave a comment and let me know any points that you would like to make on this subject. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, guys, I will see you next time.
What y'all waiting on? You want to go outside? Want to go out? Okay, let's go. Let's go outside. Come on, let's go outside.